The moment you stop reacting is the moment she starts overthinking everything you do. That's the shift most men never understand. And it's exactly why they stay stuck in the same cycle, given attention, chasing validation, and losing control without even realizing it. See, when she plays mind games, she's not just being difficult for no reason. She's testing your emotional strength. She wants to see if you're stable, if you're centered, or if you're just another guy who gets easily triggered. And most men fail right here. They react instantly. They double text. They question her behavior. They get frustrated. They try to fix things. But every reaction you give is actually giving away your power, because in that moment, she's no longer wondering about you. She's certain of you. She knows exactly how to control the situation. But everything changes the second you stop reacting. When you don't respond the way she expects, when you don't get emotional, when you don't chase clarity or reassurance, something powerful happens in her mind. The script she was following breaks. Now, instead of you trying to figure her out, she starts trying to figure you out. Silence becomes your strongest move here. Not weak silence, not passive aggressive silence, but calm, confident silence, the kind that says you're unbothered, focused, and not dependent on her behavior to feel okay. That kind of silence creates space. And in that space, her imagination starts working against her. She begins to wonder, why didn't he react? Is he losing interest? Did I misjudge him? Is there someone else? And that curiosity slowly turns into attraction, because now you become unpredictable without even saying a word. Most men think they need the perfect response, the perfect message, the perfect strategy to win these situations. But the truth is, the less you react, the more control you gain. Emotional discipline is what separates the man she tests from the man she respects. And understand this clearly: not reacting doesn't mean you don't care. It means you value your peace more than the need to prove something. It means you're not playing her game, you're playing your own. That's what makes you dangerous in the right way, because a man who can stay calm when things get uncertain is a man who cannot be manipulated. So the next time she tries to pull you into confusion, into emotional chaos, into overthinking, don't follow her there. Stay grounded, stay silent when needed. Let her come to you, because the less you react, the more she reveals. And that's where your power begins. The moment you detach emotionally is the moment you stop being controlled by what she does, says, or feels in the moment. And most men don't realize this. But the reason mind games affect you so deeply is because you're emotionally tied to the outcome. You want her to act right, respond a certain way, give you reassurance. And when she doesn't, it pulls you in. That's exactly where she gains the advantage, because whoever is more emotionally invested in controlling the outcome is always in the weaker position. And when she senses that your mood, your energy, even your confidence is shifting based on her behavior, she knows she can influence you without even trying. Detachment changes all of that. Now, understand, emotional detachment doesn't mean you become cold, distant, or uninterested. It means you're no longer attached to needing her validation to feel good about yourself. You're present, you're engaged, but you're not dependent. There's a big difference. When you're attached, you're constantly thinking, what does this mean? Why did she say that? Is she losing interest? And that overthinking leads to emotional reactions, which puts you right back into her frame. But when you detach, your mindset shifts completely. You start thinking, if she's acting this way, that's her choice. I'm focused on my life.
Hmm.
I'm not here to chase or convince anyone. And that calm certainty is what flips the dynamic, because now, instead of you trying to win her over, she starts feeling like she has to earn your attention. And here's where it gets powerful. When you're emotionally detached, you naturally become more attractive without even trying. Your responses are slower, more relaxed, more grounded. You're not rushing to fix things. You're not over explaining yourself. You're not seeking approval. You're simply being. And that energy is rare. Most men are reactive, most men are predictable. But a man who is centered, calm, and not easily shaken stands out immediately. She might test you more at first. She might pull away, act distant, or try to provoke a reaction. But this is where most men break. They think they're losing her, so they go back to chasing. You don't. You stay consistent in your detachment. You let her come and go without trying to control it. You stay focused on your purpose, your routine, your growth. And over time, she starts to feel that she can't read you anymore. And when she can't read you, she starts to chase clarity. That's when the power shifts completely. Because now you're no longer reacting to her world, she's reacting to yours. And once you reach that point, her mind games stop working because you've stepped outside of the game entirely. That's what real control looks like. One of the biggest mistakes men make is becoming predictable, not just in what they say, but in how they react, how quickly they respond, and how easily they fall into patterns. And when she starts playing mind games, she's counting on that predictability. She already knows if she pulls away, you'll chase. If she delays a reply, you'll double text. If she acts distant, you'll try harder. And once she can predict you, she can control the dynamic. That's why becoming unpredictable changes everything. Now, this doesn't mean you start acting random or fake. It means you stop following the script she expects from you. You break the patterns that made you easy to read. Because attraction doesn't grow in certainty, it grows in mystery. Think about it. When she knows exactly what you're going to do next, there's no excitement, no curiosity, no challenge. But the moment your behavior shifts, the moment you stop reacting the way you used to, her mind starts working overtime. If she expects you to reply instantly, you take your time. If she expects you to chase after she pulls away, you give her space. If she expects emotional reactions, you stay calm and grounded. And suddenly, she doesn't feel in control anymore. That uncertainty creates tension, and that tension creates attraction because now she's asking herself questions she never had to ask before. Why is he different now? What changed? Why is he losing interest? Why is he talking to someone else? And the more she thinks about you, the more emotionally invested she becomes. But here's the key: your unpredictability has to come from a place of strength, not insecurity. A lot of guys try to fake this. They ignore messages on purpose, act distant to get attention, or play games to win. But that energy feels forced, and eventually it breaks. True unpredictability comes from having a full life, real priorities, and not centering everything around her. When you're genuinely busy, genuinely focused, and genuinely detached from needing a specific outcome, your behavior naturally becomes harder to predict. Sometimes you're available, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you engage deeply, sometimes you step back. And it's all real, not calculated. That authenticity is what makes it powerful because she can't label you, she can't box you into a predictable pattern, and when she can't figure you out, she becomes more intrigued. Now, this doesn't mean you become inconsistent in your character. You're still grounded, still confident, still respectful, but your time, your attention, and your reactions are no longer something she can take for granted. And that's the shift because once she realizes she can't control your behavior, she starts adjusting hers instead. She invests more. She reaches out more. She tries to understand you on a deeper level. Not because you forced it, but because your unpredictability made her curious enough to want to. And that's when the game flips in your favor. Because the less predictable you are, the more unforgettable you become. The moment you shift your focus back to your own life is the moment everything starts to realign in your favor. Because the truth is, mind games only work on people who have too much time and emotional energy invested in someone else. When she becomes your main focus, her behavior starts to control your thoughts, your mood, and your actions. And that's exactly where you lose your power. See, when a man has nothing else going on, when his happiness depends on how she texts, how she acts, or how much attention she gives him, he becomes easy to manipulate, not because she's trying to control him in a malicious way, but because his world is centered around her. But when you start focusing on your own life, everything changes. Now your priorities shift, your purpose comes first, your goals, your work, your fitness, your social life, these things start taking center stage. And suddenly, she's no longer the source of your validation. She's just a part of your life, not the whole of it. That energy is powerful because when you're genuinely busy building something meaningful, you don't have time to overanalyze her every move. You don't feel the need to chase or seek reassurance. You're naturally less available, not because you're playing games, but because your life actually demands your attention. And that's what creates real attraction. Scarcity isn't about pretending to be busy, it's about actually having a life that doesn't revolve around her. When she notices that you're not always there, that you're not instantly responding, that you're not constantly trying to keep the conversation alive, she starts to feel that shift. Now she has to come to you because people value what feels limited. If your time and attention are always available, they lose value. But when she feels like she has to earn a place in your world, when she sees that you have standards, priorities, and a life that excites you, her perception of you changes completely. And here's the deeper part most men miss: When you focus on your life, you're not just creating attraction, you're also protecting yourself. You're building a version of yourself that doesn't fall apart if she walks away. You're creating emotional stability that doesn't depend on anyone else's actions. That's real confidence. And ironically, the less you focus on her, the more she starts focusing on you. Because now, instead of being the center of your world, she's trying to become a part of it. She starts reaching out more, showing more interest, putting in more effort because she feels that you're not easily accessible anymore. But you have to be real about it. You can't fake a life. You can't pretend to have purpose. You actually have to build it. That's what makes the shift permanent, because once your life becomes your main focus, you stop chasing completely. And when you stop chasing, that's when everything starts chasing you back. One of the most powerful shifts you can make when she plays mind games is learning how to mirror her energy, but doing it with control, not emotion. Most men misunderstand this. They either overgive, constantly trying to win her over, or they swing to the other extreme and start acting cold, distant, or even bitter. Both come from a place of reaction. And reaction is exactly what keeps you in her frame. Mirroring her energy is different. It's not about revenge, and it's not about playing games back. It's about responding appropriately to what she shows you without overinvesting or undercutting your own value. It's calm, it's controlled, and most importantly, it's intentional. If she starts pulling back, you don't chase her to close the gap. You give her the space she's creating. If she becomes inconsistent, you don't reward that inconsistency with constant attention. You become selective with your time and energy. If she shows genuine interest, then you meet her there, but not beyond it. That balance is where respect is built. Because when you always give more than she gives, you teach her that she doesn't need to put in effort. But when your energy matches hers, she quickly realizes that access to you depends on how she shows up, and that naturally encourages her to step up her behavior. Now, here's where most men get it wrong. They mirror with emotion instead of control. They think she ignored me, so I'll ignore her. But internally, they're frustrated. They're checking their phone. They're waiting for a reaction. That's not control, that's disguised insecurity. And she can feel that energy even if you don't say a word. True mirroring comes from a place of calm indifference. You're not trying to prove a point, you're simply aligning your behavior with what you're receiving. If she's giving low effort, you don't reward it. If she's giving high interest, you reciprocate, but you never overextend yourself. This creates a clear dynamic. You respond to effort, not potential. And that's powerful because it removes confusion. She knows where she stands based on how she shows up. There's no chasing, no guessing, no emotional chaos from your side, just consistency in your standards. Over time, this forces her to make a decision. Either she raises her level of effort to match yours or she falls back. But either way, you stay grounded. You don't bend your behavior just to keep her around. That's what separates a man who gets played from a man who sets the tone. And here's the deeper effect: when you mirror her energy with control, she starts to feel your absence more when she pulls away. She notices the difference. She realizes that your attention isn't guaranteed. And that realization makes her value it more because now being in your presence feels earned, not given. You're no longer reacting to her actions, you're simply reflecting them back with strength and clarity. And when you reach that point, her mind games lose their power because she can no longer manipulate your behavior. She can only reveal her own. And that's when the dynamic finally becomes fair. At the end of the day, the ultimate power move isn't saying the perfect thing, it isn't waiting the perfect amount of time, and it isn't trying to outplay her in some psychological game. The real power is being completely willing to walk away. And most men struggle with this, not because they don't understand it, but because they don't truly accept it. They say they're willing to walk away, but deep down, they're hoping things will work out no matter what. They tolerate mixed signals, inconsistent behavior, and emotional games because they're afraid of losing her. But that fear is exactly what keeps them stuck. Because the moment you're afraid to lose someone, you start compromising your standards. You start accepting less than you deserve. You start overthinking, overgiving, and overreacting, all in an attempt to keep something that isn't even stable to begin with. And she feels that whether she realizes it consciously or not, she can sense when you're holding on too tightly. And when she knows you're not going anywhere, no matter how she behaves, there's no real incentive for her to change. That's why being willing to walk away changes everything. It shifts your mindset from, I hope she stays, to can stay if she adds value to my life. That's a completely different energy. It's grounded, it's confident, and it comes from self respect. When you reach that point, you stop tolerating behavior that doesn't align with your standards. If she plays games, you don't argue about it, you don't try to fix it, you simply step back. If she continues, you step away entirely, not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of clarity, because you understand something most men don't. A connection that requires you to lose yourself isn't worth keeping. And here's the irony: the moment you genuinely accept that you can walk away and be completely fine, that's when your presence becomes more valuable, because now being with you is a choice, not a necessity, and people value what they can lose. She starts to feel that shift. She realizes that your attention isn't guaranteed, that your time isn't unlimited, that if she doesn't show up the right way, you're perfectly capable of moving on. And that's when her behavior often changes. She becomes more consistent, more respectful, more invested, not because you forced her to, but because she sees that you won't tolerate anything less. And that boundary creates a level of respect that can't be faked, but you have to be real about it. You can't pretend to walk away just to get a reaction. That's still a game, and it comes from the same place of insecurity. You have to actually mean it. You have to be okay with the outcome, whatever it is, because sometimes walking away doesn't bring her back. Sometimes it simply removes the wrong person from your life, and that's still a win, because the goal was never to control her, it was to control yourself, to stay aligned with your values, your standards, and your self respect no matter what. And when you can do that consistently without hesitation, you become someone who cannot be manipulated, cannot be played, and cannot be replaced easily, because you're no longer attached to the outcome. You're attached to your worth. And that's the strongest position you can ever stand in.